on two wheels this week. Jeff gets all aggressive on Triumph's Factory Street Fighter, the Speed Triple. And after the success of this year's Stunt Championships from Mallory Park, top stunt rider Dave Coates explains just how it's done. But first we meet up with Wayne as he spends the evening with top American Supercross rider Mike Larocco.
It is indeed, with these barmy guys riding round a circuit indoors, for goodness sake. Well, it's Supercross. Very, very exciting, very bloody noisy, I can tell you. But the fact about it is Supercross is done all over the world. And just so we can continue with the day in the life, that is of a superstar rider, a person who is actually exceptional in his field, well, we've come to Supercross to feature Mike Larocco. Mike Larocco of America, third in the world. So Mike, tell me, it must just be tedious travelling round the world from A to B. You don't get fed up with it?
It's tough. I mean, I've been doing it a long time now and travel, since I was 14 years old. And at this point in my life, which I'm 28 now, when I have to go long trips, and sometimes I dread it, but yeah, I mean, most of all, it's racing, and that's fun, and it kind of makes up for it.
So there's a balance, in the end there's a balance. You have been doing this game a long time. I've been watching your career, and there's people come and gone and so on and so on. You've been having to go for a long time. When did you start?
Well, I started riding motorcycles when I was 6, but professionally this is my 12th year, so I started in like 87, 88.
Yeah. And in Supercross then, is that the thing you aimed to do, did you, when you first started?
Not really. I mean, when I grew up, Supercross wasn't as popular as it is now.
No.
And I did go to the races locally as a child and see the guys racing and want to do that, but I never seen myself a Supercross rider.
You didn't?
Turn into that.
Well, you haven't done a bad job of it then. I mean, we've just finished the series over in the States, which could be termed as a World Series, really, because just about everybody can do it.
Right.
And you've gone ahead and come third in the championship. So
yeah,
that's not bad, have you?
I actually like it. I mean, it's a lot of jumps and fun, and depending on the style of dirt, I'm more finicky on dirt than I am on the particular obstacles. I mean,
really?
If there's traction, I can hang it out and I do good.
Yeah.
If it's hard and slippery, that's a little tougher in my boat.
You are famous for having a unique riding style, though, aren't you, really? You do ride the bike differently to a lot of other Supercross riders.
A lot of people say I'm a bulldog rider, but, mainly I ride farther back on the bikes, which, requires me to have stiffer suspension.
Right, yeah.
And stuff like that. It's just, that's what I've done, that's what works for me.
So when you come to somewhere like England or anywhere else in Europe, you have just a very, very big suitcase to fit this bike in, or do you just bring bits of it?
We just bring the most important stuff.
Yeah.
On a tight race like this, I'm glad we have a different motor setting, which, the number one important thing is having a taller first gear. With a tight track like this, it's hard to use the other gears because it's, like I said, it's so tight.
Yeah, what gear would you get into then? Because it is real small, isn't it?
Yeah, mostly first gear. Now that, we're going to work in trying to jump the triples, and in the whoops I'll use second, but I would say 90% of the time I'm in first gear.
Yeah. Do the Honda factory give you enough support, or do you find you have to seek and find sponsorship and help from everywhere else?
Well, having support of the factory is the best thing. it's tough. The year, actually last year, we did stuff on our own with a little bit of help of the factory, and had a pretty good year. But the factory gave us more support this year, and my results went up. I mean, it's tough to beat what the factory made.
Yeah, but the Honda must be particularly pleased to get a third, and you are a supported rider, not such a factory rider. They must be more than happy with you. Are we in negotiations for next year, or does that come later on yet?
No, that's already been done. I've done another 2 years with factory connection Honda, so yeah, things work well for both of us.
Yeah. How old does a motocross rider have, or supercross rider have to sort of think about packing the boots and helmets away like?
Well, that really depends on how often you see the ground. I mean, if you can stay off the ground and you have good support and you're healthy, I mean, you can go a long time. I mean, the bikes are getting much better, and they're not as demanding on the body. I mean, I know I'm actually an avid trainer. I like to train, and which would keep me going a long time, but
helps you aid to recovery if you have a misfortune or whatever.
But I think it all comes down to heart. I mean, if you got the heart to still do it and you like doing it, then
the passion's there, sort of, and you go for it. I noticed you put the knee brace and everything. Is this like a preventative thing, or do you have trouble with your knee?
I don't have trouble, but I did, and it's when I did have trouble with them. I mean, I had surgery and everything, so it's more of a preventative maintenance now. But I had already had problems with it.
Got your drift, yeah. Well, I think we just better see some more of you doing your jumps, whoops, and everything else that you do. Just jumps. Are you into the big thing? You know, this doing the stunts where you do the Superman acts and touch the mud guard with your nose and everything else. Are you into that or not?
No, I mean that's probably where I show my age. I don't do. I mean, I like to keep my stuff, feet on the pegs and my hands on the bars, but.
I can't say I blame you, mate. I think there's something wrong with those lads, nonetheless. Yeah.
I don't actually. I like jumping big jumps, but I prefer to do it normal.
Yeah. I can't say I blame you. I think we should leave that to the young boys. When I say we, I can't even get the leg over these bikes. They're too high for me. Taking the family here, there and everywhere, I mean, is this the thing you wish to do, or would you prefer that you just got on with your job, fly around and go back again?
Well, with as much as we travel, if I did that, I would really never see my family. So when we come, it's nice to have them there. You know, like I said, if I didn't, we wouldn't see them. But some weekends that you come in, you race, and you go home, and it's just as easy to rush home as opposed to bring them along.
Yeah, because I know you've got a little one, haven't you? A little 2-year-old. He's here this weekend with the missus and that. Does she enjoy watching the racing or not?
Yeah, I mean, obviously supports me a lot.
Yeah.
And that it's all part of it. I mean,
she makes your butties and you pack up and make sure that you're fed and so on, does she?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Excellent. We don't only just do a little feature on you, Mike, as our star for the Supercross, the day in the life of. You only go and win for us as well, don't you? Yeah, but I noticed you kept the champagne to yourself. But well done. You've got a bit of a sweat on there. Yeah, obviously, it's hard work, this game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when the track ruts up the way it do, it's about everything you do to keep the bike going straight, and that's where most of the work comes. It's not so much if you ride on a smooth track, it's tough, but keeping it going straight and jumping the jumps and then the moves.
You look so smooth. You look like right to the very end. You just look so smooth and tidy. Does that make? I mean, in theory, if you go smooth and tidy, if you've got the space, makes life a little easier for you. It doesn't work so hard.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what you learn in the States. I mean, it's not one thing you have to be fast, but you have to be smooth too, because you have to be no mistakes for 20 laps. and that's where it stems from. I mean, we have to complete concentration the whole time, and you know, if you make one mistake, you lose time.
And all this working out you do in the gym and everything else, running, jogging, cycling, and everything, pays off on these occasions.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, the stronger you are, the fitter you are, the easier it is, and the more energy you have to keep it going straight.
Coming all this way from the States, the old jet lag syndrome, does that come into the equation? No.
You know what? I felt real heavy coming here, but once I got on the bike and loosened up, got a good sweat going, it kind of everything went away.
Got a good sweat going, flipping it. I don't do too much work, we're going to help it. If I get a sweat on, I retire.
Yeah.
Well done, Mike. We're very impressed with you. Obviously, keep it up. We wish you all the very best for the future. Great. Thank you, Tom. What a fantastic atmosphere, what an amazing place, and what a remarkable Supercross rider. But Supercross riders have obviously got to have somewhere to ride the bikes on. Well, they come into these indoor arenas all over the world. How on earth does an indoor arena become? How do they get all this flaming earth in here and then back out again so they can do basketball or whatever they do the following week? Well, I tell you what, Paul will show you exactly how they do that next week.
But still to come this week on Two Wheels, Jeff rides Triumph's Speed Triple. And for all you aspiring stunt riders, Dave Coates explains exactly how to do it.
Why is it that speed triples make people do silly things? Like burnouts, for instance. It's all so unnecessary. But what do you expect when you see a bike like this? With these bug-eyed headlights, it looks like something from Mad Max. So isn't it a bike that's something about being mad? No, not really. But fun with attitude? Yes. The Speed Triple comes alive in your hands. A brilliant triple motor, a taut frame and a commanding riding position puts you well and truly in charge. In charge of what? Well, first off, it is back to those headlights, because personally I've never liked them since they were first introduced on the 509, which is now 3 years ago, back in '96. To me, it looks like a Daytona that's been crashed and they haven't yet put the fairing back on it. Now, the rest of it really looks the business. I think it's a fantastic looking bike. And it all starts off with the front end here, these massive front forks, and these are adjustable for compression, preload and rebound damping. Triumph are famous for their front brakes, 320mm discs, 4-pot calipers, and it really is a one-finger's job. You can just stop it on nothing, really. Brilliant stuff. But also down there is a very titchy front guard, which is a shame because that really dishes the dirt over the engine. And it doesn't deserve it because it's an absolutely cracking motor. It's up 70cc on the old T509, hence the 955 classification shared with the new Daytona. But it's been retuned to give you more torque than the Daytona at the expense of a little top end. Mind you, you still end up with 108 very wild horses. And keeping all these horses in harness, as it were, is this sexy oval tube frame, familiar to all, shared with the 595. Also shared with the 595, the massive single-sided swinging arm. Again, rear suspension fully adjustable for compression, preload and rebound damping. Up here, plastic petrol tank, again common to the 595. But up the front here, even though the instruments are the same as on the 595, absolutely identical, the handlebars are bolted to the top yokes, look almost retro. Nothing special there, standard controls, front brake lever adjustable for span. Clutch lever isn't because it's cable operated, so only adjustment there you've got is cable, not for span. Mind you, on the road you might find you need that adjustable suspension because it's pretty firm and some might want to soften it up a bit, but the road holding and handling are nevertheless superb. It's a real together feel. It tracks well and the riding position inspires confidence. You really do feel in control. The bars are slightly higher than the old 509, all the better to hang on to, me dear, but still tip you slightly forward into the wind blast, which on a naked bike you really notice. At low speed you might not notice the wind, but you will notice quite a wide turning circle. Strange that. And talking of turning, let's turn to the engine. 3 cylinders, as you know, the famous triple, but on this one they've actually altered the fuel injection system, they've changed the cams and they've altered the engine management system, all to give that extra torque in the mid-range. With this one, you've also got a very nice aftermarket pipe. Not strictly aftermarket because it is Triumph's, but it'll cost you £368. Even the cows approve, as you can hear. But that gives you this extra rounded sound, making it very, very sweet. And what does all this mean? The 108 brake is down against the 130 of the Daytona, but this is where it scores. You get a juicy 72 foot-pounds of torque at just 6,000 revs, making it a pleasure to play around on the throttle. It gives you instant go no matter which of the 6 gears you're in, but snick it down a cog or two for the full surround sound. It's not noisy, it just howls like all triples do. It's wonderful. In fact, it's spine-tinglingly wonderful. At £7,649 list, it'll cost you more than a Monster or a Bandit, but that's what it is. A monster ready to rob you of all your sanity. You don't have to be a hooligan to ride it. It's a good all-round tool, but there's something about the beast that's very, very appealing. Now, where's my comeback gear?
Stunt riders, we've all seen them and been impressed with them, and like me probably, you've stood in the crowd and watched them and said, how the flipping heck does he do that? Well, I'm going to try and find out, because Dave Coates here is going to tell us how to do all these stunts. Wheelies first of all, Dave. How do we do a wheelie?
Well, there's different ways of doing a wheelie, but the way I do it, I try to sort of get it in first or second gear, slip the clutch a bit, rev it, slip it at the same time, and get it to come up. Sometimes I just nick it straight into third gear, and then I start messing about, sort of getting it really high up and playing around with the back brake and whatever.
But it's sustaining it, doesn't it? I mean, you see lads pulling away from traffic lights and it wheel off the ground, back down, but you're keeping it up and going for it.
Yeah.
So what's that? Is it finding a balance or what?
Yeah, it's finding out where it balances out at, and sometimes going past that and putting your back brake on to slow yourself down a bit and stop it from going right back over.
Yeah, because that's the fear, isn't it? You think, well, if I'm going up to a balance point and I get it wrong and I go too far back, I'm going to flip it. But you control that with the brake, do you?
Yeah, if it gets too high and you think it's going to go over, I mean, the first, your natural instinct is to take your feet off and bail out the back.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, if you stay there, put your back brake, just dab your back brake on, it'll come down faster than it's gone up.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'll remember that. No, I must explain that not for 1 minute are we advocating anyone try this, because Dave is a highly trained professional stunt rider and he works in controlled surroundings like this on proper race strips. Right, that's wheelies, so we'll all be trying that tomorrow now. What about stoppies? That's the other thing.
Stoppies, I think the main thing with the stoppie is to get your front tyre well warmed up so it's nice and sticky, and just generally get going at a reasonable amount of pace, and just gradually sort of put the brake on harder and harder and really squeeze on. You can just feel the back end come up and get a bit light, and then once you start coming off the ground, you can maybe control it a bit more.
Yeah, because I've noticed you don't sort of just go bang. It's a progression. Your forks are like compressed, aren't they, before the back end starts? Have you ever popped your fork seals out?
I've only ever done one fork seal, so I haven't done bad on fork seals.
Hey, where are you buying your fork seals from? That's what we all want to know. Right, the other thing that we see you and all the other stunt guys doing, burnouts. Getting the back tyre hot, lots of smoke. Yeah. What's the secret with that?
You can do that. You can try that two ways. You can sort of ride along in a straight line and just, again, gently put your front brake on as you try and rev the bike as well, and hopefully it'll light the back end up, get the back end spinning, and just control it as if you're just riding slowly, really. Yeah. Or you can sort of get it going with your feet on the floor, get it into a normal burnout, and then just gently try and put one foot on your peg, and try and get the other one up, and just try and ride it out.
Just let the front brake off a bit, innit?
Just generally let the front brake off.
What about the donuts going round? Because that looks particularly difficult.
Yeah, the donuts. Once you get into doing a burnout in a straight line, a lot of the times the bike will tend to drift off to one side, and if you just follow it round and let it go where it wants to go at first, you'll end up doing a donut and getting smaller and smaller.
All right, I'm probably falling off.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing that you do that I've seen other people do as well is skiing off the back.
Yeah.
Right, you jump off the back, and you don't appear to have any kind of control of the throttle or the steering when you jump off the back. Is that the case?
Yeah, well, you've definitely got no control of the throttle, but you can, to a certain degree, pull it to one side and straighten it up if it tends to veer off to one side. You can pull it back, but then again, if you start skiing and then take your hands off there, you can't even do that.
Right. So what about the throttle though when you're skiing? Because do you I noticed the throttle on yours, it returns, so what do you do?
Well, what I do is I usually get into 5th gear, so it's you're going at a fair hour rate, and just shut the throttle off, then shuffle myself back, grab all the grab rail, leap off the back. And,
It's getting back on that amazes me. How'd you get back on? I know you jump back on, but I mean...
Yeah, you're going too fast to push off with your feet. You've just got to sort of like spring up in the air and then pull yourself forward on the grab rail.
Have you ever not made it?
I've come close a few times.
You're completely mad. Well, brilliant. We will never cease to be impressed. And remember, as I said before, very important. Dave is highly trained, professional, and he does this for a living. Apart from other things, what do you do for a living?
I have my own construction business as well. So
you're a builder.
Yeah.
So you can fix bikes.
Well, no.
Hopefully you won't have to. So there we are. Don't try this at home. Leave it to the experts. This is a motorcycle showroom. It's the kind of place you would visit if you wanted to look at all the latest machinery.
Not only have you got all the latest machines to look at, you've got all the latest accessories as well. You've got your suits, your boots, your helmets, your gloves, alarms, locks, chains, everything. What more could you ask for?
But if you do want to see absolutely everything, then you need to go to a bike show. And the Two Wheels team will be at the biggest event this year, the International Show in Birmingham.
So why don't you come and see us at the show? And we'll give you some advice on the best helmets to buy and the best jackets and clothing to wear. And even on bike testing. Paul and Jeff have done loads of testing. They'll give you some of their ideas, what they thought was best. Because we are real, we're humans, you know. You can speak to us, even buy us a drink maybe. But come and see us down at the bike show.
And all the details of where we will be and when we will be there can be found on the Men and Motors website. So have a look and we'll see you there. On Two Wheels next week, Jeff travels to the headquarters of V&M in Lancashire to take a ride on a very special 50th anniversary edition of Honda's Super Blackbird. And you can see how Manchester's ice hockey arena was turned into a Supercross track.